All right. Thank you all for attending this session. I hope you all really get some just much needed exposure to some amazing things that are not going on just globally, but even here in St. Louis as well. At this time, I'm going to introduce Kent Rao. He is the Director of Strategic Initiatives at Thermo Fisher Scientific and is going to just teach us a lot about what they're doing at this organization and just share a lot of unique and transpiring things for us all. So at this time, I'm going to go ahead and introduce Kent, and we'll go ahead and get started.
Fantastic. Aaron, thank you so much for the introduction. And thank you to the staff of St. Louis University and the students. My name is Kent Rowell. I have been in the biologics research development and clinical manufacturing for 30 years. I recently retired from Pfizer. And there we had 4 different areas of functionalities and discovery and implementation of drug product. And but with that happening, I got a call from Thermo Fisher asking, hey, we're going to build the St. Louis site up and we need some established experience. And would you willing to help us for a couple of years to have this growth happen to us? And because we're lagging and behind a lot of different areas. And talking with the wife, and she's like, let's go ahead, because she's got 2 more years. She's a school teacher. And so with that, I decided to join Thermo Fisher. And with that, I found out I've been very fortunate to start my career at Monsanto, and at Pfizer, and restarted again with Thermo Fisher. So I had 3 wonderful companies I got to work for, and Thermo Fisher is by far the most robust and diverse company I've ever worked for. So with that, I'm gonna go through the presentation of what Thermo Fisher is. A lot of people may think of them as making components and filters and bags and instruments, lab instruments. Well, now we're much broader than that now. And I'm going to share that with you, with all your studies that you're doing and getting that degree, advanced degrees, and you can see where a lot of different areas you can apply your great attributes to Thermo Fisher. Aaron, thank you so much. Next slide, please, sir. So Thermo Fisher is over 75,000 employees involved here. We got over 5,000, close to 6,000. I need to update this, of R&D scientists and engineers. We're $1 billion invested in research and development. We look for new ways to make drugs and new ways to develop cell lines and media to feed the cell lines, and ways to process, purifying that antibody that we're making. And yes, that bottom number there is 25 billion. Thermo Fisher has done a great job with that. I'll add a little bit more to that later. But the mission, when people talk about careers, Thermo Fisher truly is all about making the world healthier, cleaner, and safer. And with that, there's so many different areas you can apply yourself at Thermo Fisher. But I love that. I mean, you go to a family reunion, you go to a party, and someone says, oh, you graduated, what are you doing? Well, I'm making medicines to make people's lives better. I mean, what a great way to share your career and what you're doing. And it's not always about what dividends you get back, the payroll. Everybody likes the payroll, especially the students when they graduate. They say, hey, I'm time to make some money. But you got to have some rewarding effect of passion, of why you want to be in the industry of making medicine, discovering medicines to make not only St. Louis, not only Missouri, not the United States, but the world a cleaner, healthier, and safer place to live. Next slide, please, Aaron. So I talk about diversity. We are by far one of the leading industries because we do so much around, where Pfizer was all about research, development, and commercialization of drug products. Here we got drug substance. We do drug product development. That's all type of biology and in bioengineers, chemical engineers, chemists, and those life sciences, biology type backgrounds are really applicable to there. And then we do clinical trials. Clinical trials is the medicine that's been research and development. We do that development work with that medicine, and then we have clients call us up, like a Amgen or Lilly, a Pfizer, to say, can you make this drug product because we've got this clinical trial going on. And an example of the clinical trial is we make this medicine, and those clinical trials go into human beings. So it could be for like a lupus drug. So we're doing something for lupus right now for our client, and it's going to be given to those who have lupus. And then the trial is what's the after effects, and well, how fast is this cured? How fast is this sustained the progression of lupus? That's what clinical trial is all about. Is making sure the drug is safe for people to take, and does it affect the disease the person has. And then the clinical trials and packaging, we take all the drug substance of that, injectables or powders or whatever, to a different clinical. We do all that work. And then we distribute throughout the world, through all the different companies in the world, and everything. So we also have a life cycle management and genetic manufacturing, gene therapy. So when I retired at my old place at Pfizer, we built a plant in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, gene therapy. To me, that's the most exciting new science going around. It's tailor made for people, and we're getting to the science of it, where a big thing about hereditary, diseases like breast cancer. Breast cancer. If your great grandmother had it, it tends to go down the line. It's just a gene and molecule that's in your body that you have. With gene therapy, what they do, they produce these beta blockers where that receptor of that cell will no longer activate, and that cancerous cell that's hereditary in your body, who you are, it'll block it, where that you won't get breast cancer in the future. And to me, I smile about it, because that's cool stuff. I mean, that is just amazing. And we all know someone in our circle of life that's probably gone through some kind of breast cancer. But gene therapy is one of the biggest market is that. So that's the science behind that. So we need all type of people with that same background. We go back to chemical engineers, biologists, chemists, microbiologists, biochemies, biomedical. We got a lot of biomedical folks here that does a wonderful job. So all this is end-to-end use that we have. It's pretty exciting here. Again, we do partner with many others. So not only Thermo Fisher has research development, but we also partner with all the big pharma. And this is the part I like about it, because I come from a small town, small pharma, the startup companies, because sometimes those startup companies are the ones that have some of the best science and procedures going on. So we partner with them, and we help make their material, their drug substance for them to use. Next slide, please. And during this time, when Aaron and I are going through this presentation together, if you have something to chat or something, I know Aaron mentioned this, please just put it in chat, and we can answer that question at that time, or write your questions down, because there'll be plenty of time afterwards, and we'll discuss. Hopefully, I have some answers for you on your questions you may have during this presentation. So, hey, this is cool about Thermo Fisher as well. We've got people all over the world. In biologics, that's the department I work in. And there's a slide about it, but we've got places all over the world that even though you're at St. Louis University, but you're from a different country, you say, hey, there's a Thermo Fisher facility in Italy, where I'm from. Then we could also make those transactions, hire you from here, and also make that work. Have to go elsewhere, go to Italy to work for us there, where your family's at, where you was born and raised at. But we have many other areas that worldwide that we connect with. So it's the most diverse company that I've been involved with in my 30 plus years in doing this. Next slide, please. So this is what we're kind of doing in-house automatically here. We have the discovery research through Thermo Fisher. So, but the discovery is, you can read all this, you can see this, take notes, please. But it's all about, cell development cultures and gene, understanding the gene and understanding the molecules and the linkers of the molecule, receptors of those molecules, what activates that molecule. And so this is where you're going to be doing a lot of that research. And then you have to, on the other side of it, we can grow these great cell lines. We could grow this great antibody for this certain disease, but if we can't purify it, then it's useless. Then we have other groups that design processes. How do we do purification? And some of you may have used the small scale chromatography, gas chromatographies. It's the same part, and we're doing separation of that. And we also are using ultrafiltration steps. We do viral inactivation steps, make sure there's no viruses in there. We kill viruses by lowering pH where they can't, no living organism can handle it. Then we raise the pH back up again. And then we have to clean all that aggregates out. And so all that's in research development. I talked a little bit about the clinical trials and manufacturing. I think that's the coolest stuff going on. I have family members that I put on clinical trials because they had no other option. Nothing else was working with them, and they, unfortunately, both of them received really good results in the medicine that they're taking. But the clinical trials is so important for us in the future of the human race, for us to make sure we have medicines to make people's lives better. It's not always about cancer, where if I don't have a cure for this, that person may expire. But it could be just rheumatoid arthritis, where you just can't even go outside because you ache, your hands ache, your knees ache, and making it where we have a product that we either developed, or we working with a partner with another pharmaceutical company to manufacture their product, where you could have your great life, where you could run around with your kids, your grandkids, and so forth. But that's the part about clinical manufacturing that I love. And then once we get clinical manufacturing, gets the FDA approval and the other approvals, European approvals, and then we do a commercial launch of that. And we handle all those aspects of that as well. It's pretty cool. It's totally the foundation of research, development, clinical trials, and manufacturing that successful clinical trial to people of the world to have for their diseases. Next slide, please. So the vaccine market and therapies, COVID, Thermo Fisher. I'm going to tell you something about this company, about COVID-19. So we did many things with COVID-19. We have other clients that we've helped making the COVID-19, which I'm not at liberty to discuss because all that's intellectual properties and confidentialities. But what I can talk about is we also made, it has nothing to do with the science part of it, but we made the -95, -90 freezers for Pfizer and Moderna to use for their product. It's they, that molecule needed that fast freeze where it freezes fast, and then it has to have that -95 degrees Celsius. And we made those. So we supported that avenue, not only helped making other type of attributes for that drug product or making that drug product, but we also made the controlled freezers to hold them in. So we got our hands in a lot of parts of it. So with that, our company in 2020 with COVID, and the world never seen nothing like this. I've never seen nothing like this. That it shut down the world. And a lot of companies, small companies, a lot of pharmaceutical companies, a lot of companies suffered, had furloughs, laid people off. Thermo Fisher, we gained. We actually had one of the best years of Thermo Fisher ever during COVID, because we maintain all the different materials and attributes, bags, sterile filters, freezers, and making the components themselves to our clients. And we gained. Now with that, like I said, I work for really great companies. And I'm so been blessed with these companies, but I never ever had a CEO and the board of a company give back to the employees. And let me share what Thermo Fisher did with that during this time of helping out the COVID battle. Back in August of 2020, The company was doing very well. We see the company revenues. We see what we're doing to impact COVID. So our CEO turned around and said, we're going to give everybody $750 across the board. $750, can't do nothing with it. We're all got to stay home. But hey, I'll take $750. That's great. Come December of 2020. Now this is new. This part is new to me. The company done so well that with all the different areas of Thermo Fisher, from those making sterile bags and those making filters, those making freezers, and those making drug substance, what I do, they turn around and to all the hourly people in December, mind you, for all the hourly people, they gave 3 weeks of pay extra. Thank you for the services. The company was outstanding. I never heard of that before. And then those who were exempt levels, and that's usually our scientists, and that's for folks that that's usually on the bench or in the clinical manufacturing parts. All the exempt employees, all those got a percent given what your annual paycheck is. You got a percent of that, depending what level you are. I've never seen it before, so that was huge. Now here's the third thing. March is when in pharmaceutical companies, where Pfizer and Thermo Fisher, that's when you get your merit increase and you get your bonus. Well, Thermo Fisher not only gave us a merit increase and bonuses that was very lucrative, our CEO and our board again gave us mass amount of thank you money. It was called the COVID thank you for an amazing, unbelievable 2020 during an unprecedented time. So I'm going to tell you, I want to share that story because I've never seen it. 30 years in the business, to me, that's buying back into your people. Who doesn't want to work for a company that gives back to those that's doing the work for them? Pretty impressive, folks, in my mind. Next slide, please. Oh, forward, please. There we go. So I kind of went through this already a little bit for everyone, but here's some of the areas here in St. Louis that we have. For those who want to understand monoclonal antibody development, cell culture development, we have that here on the preclinical work. Here in St. Louis, everything we've got with St. Louis. This site was called Patheon. Those who are St. Louisans around here may know the bit. Patheon was a contract manufacturing site. Thermo Fisher is a contract development manufacturing site. Here at the site, what makes this site impressive is the old days is when we had to use stainless steel bioreactors and valves, and everything was put together, man-made, that people had to touch it with their hands and put everything together. Then you had to steam sterilize all the ports, make sure it's sterile, because we're putting live cells in there. If there's any kind of microbial bug in there, it's going to grow out and you lose your batch. Well, the industry for the last 25 years have been going into this disposable technology. We are right now running anywhere from 250-liter bioreactor bags to 2,000-liter bioreactor bags that we run our cells and grow our cells in, all disposable. What makes that very unique is there's a lot of different amazing attributes with disposable brings, but mainly what it does, it controls contamination rate, where you use aseptic techniques in your way you handle the bags, and you're in a clean room doing this, and then you hardly ever have contamination. The other great benefit is with stainless steel, once you ran a batch, it took you a week to redo everything again, every valve. You could do a harvest, which means you harvest the cells in that 2,000-liter bag. On day shift and on night shift, you're installing a new bag in that reactor within 24-hour turnaround time. That's where the industry is going. Also, where the industry is going, what Thermo Fisher's leading in, is we're working on a 5,000-liter disposable bioreactor to make drug substance. Pretty cool. I mean, 5,000-liter, thinking, man, that thing's going to burst. But they're inside of a housing, and the bag stays in a housing, and it's pretty remarkable. And we'll talk later, but after this, but later in the spring, we'll have a tour so you can see what I'm talking about the areas of where we work in making all this pharmaceutical ingredients. And then last part, we have a lot of our microbiologists and chemists. We can't run product unless we have analytics telling us your product has great quality. So we have all the analytical methods that has to be validated, and that's the science behind that. And then in our process development of folks, they do all the process characterization of like KLAs of a bioreactor or the elution factor of a chromatography skid. Uh, Great science. So you come to work. What you do now is you're going to school to learn this. Now you'll be going to another campus, but you get paid doing the work now. So it's kind of cool. Next slide, please. So here's the site, St. Louis history here. It started in Vitron. It's 1986, and I remember that. Um, and all through this time, this site here went through many different companies. And I tell you how the world turns for you. You see there in 2011 where it's Gallus, or 2010 Gallus. Well, in 2011, me and three other core Pfizer people came to the site because we was looking to buy it. And we chose not to. We chose to build later down the road. And not only that, we had advancement with the lease. Then it was the Monsanto, now the Bayer site in Chesterfield. But we looked at that site in 2011 after Gallus bought it, and by Gallus because they had some great programs. And then Patheon bought and up buying Gallus, and with the Gallus and Patheon, really became a solidified top of the world type contract manufacturing company. And then when Thermo Fisher Scientific bought it, they bought it into the contract development manufacturing part of the business. They always built instruments, analytical instruments. They always built process, unit skids, we call them. They also built a lot of bags, sterile filters. All this is all sterile. You connect them, but now they're in the business of making manufacturing. So talking about having a business that keeps feeding themselves in. We're going to use our bags. We're going to use our refreezers. We're going to use everything, and all that revenue goes to us, to the Thermo Fisher site. But more important, I like the revenue part of it. I'm not the finance guy. I'm a science guy. I'm an engineer. But what I like about it is you control what we have now, not waiting for others to do. Well, wait a minute. It's going to take you 6 weeks to get that filter. We get filters when we need it. So it's kind of neat to be able to, on a processing kind of guy, we have that. Thermo Fisher is now expanding even further. Next slide, please. So we'll talk about growth here in St. Louis. And with growth, you can see the biggest part of our growth is manufacturing operation. And that is all manufacturing. I'm actually working with our community colleges right now because the community colleges, they offer a 2-year biotech degree. And those degrees are extremely applicable for our research technicians. Those are the folks that push the buttons, turn the knobs to all the processing that we do to make the material, to make the active pharmaceutical ingredients. And then their superiors, their bosses, are usually those who are degreed in the field of bioprocessing, either upstream. When I say upstream, that means cell culture. Downstream means purifying that cell culture once we get to it. But and that's where we need some areas. So we're working getting the biotech folks because we want people to understand a little bit of the science behind the process. You should never ever push a button or turn a knob and really not know what's going on because you're reading a batch record. It tells you to do it, but you should understand some of the science behind it. And that's where you guys come in and to help us become supervisors, managers, senior managers. If people leadership is part of what your career aspirations are. And then we have quality assurance, quality control, and most of those folks are all mainly of the quality folks because they're reviewing steps, processes. It's a mix of engineers and biologists and chemists and those groups. They're mainly degree folks, and then we have process development. They are all degreed folks. Those are all your engineers for process development, and then biologists for cell culture development, especially biomedical or biochemical are great positions for those areas. And then we have engineering facilities, that's taking care of our site, making sure utilities are running, expansion. Like I'm saying, I'm building up 2 new suites. I'll be working with that team as well. And then we have another group on 12%. We have program management. What they do is they work with our clients interaction. They're our conduit between client and Thermo Fisher, making sure we're taking care of their business and their objective that they want us to do on making their product. And then we have supply chain. Supply chains is folks who order all our stuff that we need to make all this material that we make for our clients. And we don't have great supply chain people, logistics people, then we don't have product here to make it, and then we can't do nothing. And then we have a small group of IT, finance, and HR. And with the growth, we're looking at 700, like right now. The St. Louis site by 2025 wants to be one of the leading bio innovation, bio development, bio manufacturing of not only the United States, but of definitely the Midwest, because the East Coast and West Coast there's a lot of facilities, those who know about this business. But here in the Midwest, there's facilities in the Midwest, but to have one this big, to have it, our goal to have 1,000, 1,200 colleagues on this ever expanding campus of ours. Next slide, please. Is there any questions while we're waiting? Aaron, did we get anything yet? Okay. Well, no, you go back. So no questions yet. Okay. So here's the St. Louis site. As you can see, we have building 1. That's where our labs at, our small scale labs are at, and one of our warehouses that we have. Building 2, as you can see, is the biggest building. It's where all of our manufacturing suites. Suites are what they are. They're good manufacturing practices suites, which means that you have to have everything you do is documented and approved, and it's complied by. So you can't go outside of it. You can't do anything. You got training to do this. And that's where we make all of our drug substance in these clean rooms. They're class 100,000. Some areas are class 10,000. What that means is there's 10,000 particulates per square footage in there. That's amazing. It's super clean. And you're fully gowned up too. So, and the reason you're gowned up is because you have your skin sheds every second, every time. So you don't think about this. I always tell people when I talk to high school kids, the Peanuts, Charlie Brown, the stinky guy, they show him, messing up, his ore, I guess, his smell. Well, that's what people do. We actually are shedding constantly. But so that's what we do in building 2. Building 3 is our office and data center, IT center. That's where all of our program management folks are working in their offices with our clients. Building 6 is a huge warehouse that we have. And building 7, so it's called new building, but we were calling building 7. We purchased that from University of Missouri, St. Louis. It was their old development center, and this just wasn't using it enough. And we bought that facility, and right now we're going to renovate that building as well. Not only are we going to expand to make more suites, but that's going to be our new process development and pilot plant. Pilot means startup, large scale. So that's going to be a neat area, and that's where the mass hiring is going to be coming from to fill a lot of positions. And all those positions will be, again, all the engineer disciplines, and along with the biology, microbiology, and chemist in there. And we have process gases and so forth. I think we have a couple chats. I got one, and it says, where does R&D fall in categories you talked about? The research development categories is right now on the St. Louis site is the Princeton. We have in our Princeton site, we have our gene therapy at our Princeton site for research and development. We don't have gene therapy here in St. Louis. And they also have monoclonal antibody development there as well, cell culture development and protein purification development. St. Louis has a high level of monoclonal antibody as a biologic. So when I talk about that, that's where we do all this, the development of cell culture, of new cell lines. We may work with a pharmaceutical company to help them develop a cell line to do their certain medicine they want to produce. And then we also do scale up of process purification for the R&D that I was talking about. And I'm curious about opportunities to pursue post-grad degrees, MS, PhD. So what we do here, that's a good question. We have lots, the process development is where our post-grads end up going in there. A lot of our folks, they get hired on and they end up letting Thermo Fisher pay for their postgraduate degrees, getting their PhD. We have 3 right now that's attending some universities and getting their PhD while they're working. What better way to have someone else pay for your education, right? And that's what that's actually a good question too, because those who are in the higher disciplines, engineering, it's also good to get your master's in something as well. So get on board and then let Thermo Fisher pay for your education, get your master's or any type of advanced degree as well. That's a very good question. So yeah, Thermo Fisher will pay for it while you get employed here. And then we're also working on internships currently right now. And this is one of my big plugs I was gonna do at the end, but I'll do it now since the question came up. I have internships going right now. And what I need is background of cell culture, is someone who's interested in cell culture or someone interested in process development, purification of proteins. We are looking for those type of individuals or any kind of intense life science, medical engineering background will be very applicable. Now, Thermo Fisher never had an internship here, nor do they have a co-op. So I'm establishing an internship and co-op will be in place by 2022. But for this year, I've been asking, and I've got 3 positions, maybe 4 for interns right now, and we're expediting this. So if you're interested, you need to get your resume to me or send it. You can send it to either Aaron or Jeff Jackson or Carl, and then they can give it to me, and I'll make sure someone reaches out to you. You'll have an interview about it, about these positions. But we gotta move really quick on these interns. It's not a whole lot this year, but because it was never established, so I'm also establishing that program. Great questions. Thank you for the questions. Next slide, please. Now this is, I know I shared this with my oldest son, and he's a professional as well, and he's into this stuff. And I told him, look what we're doing here, and he loves all this virtual 3D and walking, and it is really cool, folks. So we could sit there, and what we did is for our clients, we have a virtual 3D. They can walk through our shop and see what's going on, see what kind of equipment we got because of COVID. So instead of just waiting for COVID to be done with, the minds of Thermo Fisher and the brilliant mind of our scientists and engineers said, hey, let's come up with some kind of virtual training. We did all that. And when I talk about this, when I talk to other universities, a lot of people love this. I mean, they're like, this is cool, because this is the generations of gamers, right? And you guys, your parents might like, oh, stop playing that game. But you know what? The gamers of for whatever reason, doing a game, whatever, but they taught us how to use that technology for science. So they do have that creativity that you can use to make science better and enable different ways we can look at processes through the lens of a virtual 3D. And this is really cool stuff. So if you're into this, we're actually developing a team It's called a Bioprocessing Collaboration Center. I call it a think pad. We had something like this at Pfizer. And what it is, it's just folks come up better ways to operate, innovative ways of thinking, innovative ways how we could use different programs. And it's a think tank. It's those who have that creative mind and to find better ways to operate faster, quicker, and more importantly, with great quality. So this is another cool part here. Next slide, please. So this slide here to me is not fancy. It's not stands out, but it stands out to me. I got in this business, and I'm going to share this with you guys because I started my career at Monsanto in the animal science, making pharmaceutical ingredients for animal science. And I remember my father on Christmas Eve, and my mom and dad, they didn't have any higher education in high school, and they turned around, and my dad asked, he said, "Son," I told him about this product we're making at Monsanto. It stimulates the ruma in a cow, which makes them create more milk. And with that, if a cow is producing 12 gallons of milk, they'll end up producing 20 gallons of milk. You know, we're just made this drug product, great success. I built a plant in Augusta, Georgia, with it. We got high accolades in the pharmaceutical field of agriculture. And my dad asked this question to me on a Christmas Eve. He said, "Son, I know what you do. I can't even think about what you do, but I just spent 37 cents for a gallon of milk. Are we hurting for milk? Why don't you use your mind to help make medicines for me and mom in the future?" And so forth. And I must have a dumbfounded look in my face because he goes, "Oh, son, I didn't mean to offend you because I don't know what you do. I'm just asking." I go, "Dad, you're right." So my father inspired me in many different ways, but he inspired me to get out of the animal science part of it and get into the human pharmaceutical part of it. And here's the reason why. I hopefully not, but I'm sure some of you on this call, on this seminar right now, know someone or have someone that you know has one of these symptoms, one of these diseases. We come to work. It's not work. It's a career of passion. Um, I haven't used an alarm clock for over 25 years. I love getting up. I love starting my day. I love knowing what can I do. Is the job easy? No, it's not. It's tough because you have more rejections than you have successes making drug product. But the ones you do, it's a great feeling knowing one of these diseases here that, guess what? We whooped it. We got it beat. The minds of people overcame and came up with a great drug to where people could take and not affect them. You know, it's been amazing. And I tell you what's so the downfalls are is when you talk about baseball, you know, if we bet at 300, that'd be amazing in pharmaceutical. To get a drug to pass where there's no after effects that's harmful is tough to do, folks, because the human body, the molecules is so different from one person to another person. And I'll give you a quick example. We thought we was going to have another massive blockbuster drug on Alzheimer's. Preliminary clinical data came back. The people was not only sustained, they were not digressing anymore in their Alzheimer's, where they in dementia, but they started getting clarity. They started coming back. They started getting remembrance. And there's lipids in our brain, and they clog up like our valves do, and everything else in our body. We don't eat right, or whatever. Their lipids, the firing mechanisms in our brain, they were getting plugged. And we had this drug that was kind of like going in there like, you know, Roto-Rooter or cleaning it out and getting those receptors to start bouncing back and forth again. Then our major clinics came back. The same thing. People start getting recovery, getting their memory back. We was going nuts because this is going to be not only blockbuster for the company, but for the world, because dementia is horrible. A person can be perfectly healthy but don't know who you are. Unfortunately, we started getting data that people started having blurrier vision from the clinical work, and then some people went blind, and it got to the point that it wasn't one, two, it started being hundreds, and we had to cancel the whole program in the clinical. So for one thing, being high of really helping someone that has dementia be able to remember their family, there was the after effects of what the drug was doing. So that's the world of pharmaceutical research and development. It's always, if you like to compete, and I do, but you got to keep fighting. Okay, well, man, that's tough, but we have to keep fighting. Even the families that their loved ones had these bad things happen with their sight, they're like, hey, for those who got to get their memory back, those who didn't have this effect, we're happy for them. And what a good mindset for those people who their loved one took it and it didn't have the same effect. But some people did get to, have their memory back. But that's what I'm telling you about the world of pharmaceutical. It's a challenge. It's fun, but it makes you use the brain. So all you brilliant students out there, you didn't get this degree, this high level degrees and advanced degrees. You want to use that degree to help mankind. I know that in the future. Next slide, please. I think that's about it. Oh, I talked a little about the Bioprocessing Collaboration Center, the think tank, right? This is where if you're one of those types of folks that you love to be creative thinking, we have opportunities in this area here in St. Louis as well. Next slide, please. Yeah, Thermo Fisher, we definitely take pride what we do and how we do it. It's been thrilling for me to come here to start establishing these partnerships with Carl and the St. Louis University, a great university. It comes highly accredited and it's worldwide known too. So, we got you guys in our backyard, and our job is to show you our mission, show the opportunities here in St. Louis and other opportunities throughout the world. Thermo Fisher is a company that advancement is high. There's no hard, short ceilings. It's where you want to take it at. If you want to spend your time in working on the academia side of Thermo Fisher, that's doing like discovery work and research work. We love folks like that. Then we got folks who want to become people leaders. I want to lead an organization. I want to lead a group. Those are the people that we would love to have, because there's ways you can advance your career. And you may think you want to do this one part of your career, and then you find out in the company, man, I would love to be a program manager. I love interacting with people, and I can use my science background to be able to work with clients, with their engineers, and work with our engineers to make us all one team to get their drug substance out. So it's really, really great company. I got another chat here. I'll be moving outside of St. Louis area after graduation. How closely does the St. Louis location communicate with other locations? Great question. Daily. If you apply for a position, what I like to do is partnership with St. Louis University is this. So if you go to Thermo Fisher career site and you see an opportunity that you live outside St. Louis and you see an opportunity where you live, Thermo Fisher has a site within an hour there that you find, hey, I like to see what the opportunities are. Us being a partner with St. Louis University, I would reach out to that facility and say, hey, we have a person here that has whatever it may be, work on their PhD, but they want to be able to apply this to the facility. Let's just say Cincinnati. We have a big site in Cincinnati. Can we make this connection? And that's what I would do. Good question.
We have another question that just popped up too, Kent.
Yep.
Sure. Okay.
Oh, thank you, Aaron. All right, we got to, do you offer any summer positions in R&D? Yes, the internship I'm talking about is in process development, which is research and development. We're developing small scale processes. And so we have 2 positions. That's all we have in those PDs. So if you're interested, please work with Aaron, Jeff, or Carl, and get your resume and see what areas that may be. We have two, like I said, those two areas that we have open is one is about cell culture development. Biochemical engineers could do that. Biology's degree could do that. Biomedical engineers could do those roles in cell culture development. And then we have another process, how to purify that product. So you'd be working on how do you separate proteins, using chromatography systems. You'd be working on analytics. You become up, defining different type of factors on elutions. You'll be given a scope of work, and that scope of work will define what you'll be doing. And what that intern does too, you'll find out this is what I like to do. This is cool. And then when you graduate, then we end up offering you a job. So that's what it does. We get to brand what we do and how we do it. Okay, we got some more questions here.
Yeah, a student asked if you do most of the hiring.
What's that? Say it again, please.
The student asked if you do most of the hiring for Thermo Fisher.
No, I do not do most of the I will, until I get people, the hiring managers of those positions for cell culture upstream. Matt Zuzak will take care of that, and the downstream manager is Shanna Usury. She'll be the hiring manager for those interns that come in. But for all full-time positions that come in, depends what areas of functionality that they're looking at. The higher the level, the more I'll get involved with. But right now, like I said, we have no internships, no co-ops. We didn't have partnerships with St. Louis University or any other university in the area. And I'm developing that right now as I speak.
Thanks for that. We have another question that just popped in. A student asks, what's your educational background and what do you recommend about as far as it relates to next steps? Like, should a student take opportunities that are available now with you all or wait until they can maybe work full time and have their next degree paid for?
Well, I finished my chemical engineering degree because I wanted Pfizer to pay for it. So that's what I ended up doing myself personally. But I think in the field of pharmaceutical, if you have a passion for biologics, because biologics is the world, it's the future, folks. With the gene therapy and the viral vectors, the biochemical engineers is really a strong field for that area, followed by biomedical and chemical engineers. All three of those are extremely applicable in the industry of pharmaceuticals development and manufacturing. In the bench areas, the biologists and microbiologists and chemists are other areas that we need as well. And then we have other areas. We got areas of program management, which is folks that have that business background, all those high communication skills, Lean Six type of backgrounds where they can work with clients, have those great soft skills areas. Okay, I got a question here. You mentioned sending resumes to yourself and others. Could someone post those email addresses to the chat? Apologies, that's already happened.
You can do it. I'm sorry. I had a little technical difficulty. What was the question? Okay.
Yeah, the question was, hang on here, just email addresses. They want email addresses. Where can they send their resume to apply for these interns? That's what I guess mainly the question is.
Yeah, well, Kent, they can send them. I think he mentioned earlier, for everyone that's on here, you can send your resumes to anyone in the career services, and we'll make sure to get that passed on. Or if Kent, if you want to, I don't know how comfortable you feel with posting your email address in here too, but.
Well, I'm gonna do it for this time because, like I said, we are hurt. We have to identify these interns by the second, third week at the latest of April. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that now. So if we have one, There we go.
All righty, thank you for that.
You can send that to me. Don't, give me some time with it. I'll send those to the managers, and then they'll be reaching out to you with that.